Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Troy Vincent. I want to tell you a story about something that happened to me in 1974. Um, and I know this is going to be hard for some of you to believe. And I really need people to start sharing my videos because my videos are really being censored hard and not just a little. And mine started in 2014 after I released the first video. And a couple videos later, I mean, they got a few views. The fourth or fifth one I made had hit 49,500 and some views. I went back and looked and checked it again. 49,500 and some views in about 5 weeks or a little less. And it took it 5 years because that's when they put the algorithm on my video, all my videos. They put an algorithm on me, and it took it 5 years to hit 50,000. That's like 400 and something more views. So it hit 49,500 and something in less than 5 weeks, but it took it 5 years to break 50,000. Now after that, all the videos I posted, a couple of views here and there. That's just it. I mean, it takes them so long to, sorry, my dog is laying down against the table and making my table ajar. So all my videos are really getting censored heavy. Non-subscribers are not seeing my videos at all. And there's a reason why, because someone in Hollywood, I'm exposing them because this video is about what they did to me in 1974. And when I started trying, like I said I don't know if maybe I said it in this video or another video, in 1999 my mother started telling the story about something that happened, and it wasn't what happened because that's what she perceived, but she didn't know the whole story. And the story led me back to this person's cousin's house. And the more I remembered, I really didn't remember the truth. I even came across this piece of evidence, which I'll get to in a minute. Even after holding it in my hand, it still didn't come back to me until I had moved to Ohio and I got married. My wife just passed away. I've been married almost 20 years and my wife passed away. She passed away in August of 2020. So I just over a year since she passed away. And my dogs passed away right before that. So I had a really rough year. But my wife was one of the few people outside of my brothers who were there. My younger brother remembers. My older brother kind of remembers. My mom, she told me how to spell Jedi, and she doesn't even remember. So that was in West Palm Beach, Florida in 1974. The only time we ever lived in West Palm Beach, Florida, was in 1974. I lived in Port St. Lucie many, many years later. And actually, 2000, I had just moved there. And I went back to Louisville, and I was going through paperwork with my mother. And we pulled this document sleeve out and pulled this piece of paper out of my document sleeve, because each one of us brothers had our own document sleeve. And there was 3 document sleeves. They're red plastic. I've showed them in the other videos. I'll put a clip in it of it here too. But I pulled this piece of paper out. It said Jedi Knights in the Force, and there was a card drawn at the bottom. It didn't click. I didn't remember at that point. I still didn't remember. And in 99, just before I went to Port St. Lucie, she had been telling the story about me falling on the stick. And I was like, that's not what happened. I didn't fall on the stick. I was in this kid's backyard. He pointed a piece of rebar at my face. And at the time when I was a kid, I didn't even know the word for rebar. So I was like, no. I kept trying to tell my parents. Well, this video is not, there's just a reason why. I'm getting ready to make a movie, so I don't want to get into everything in this video. I just made this video because after I posted my last one, it was called Newsflash for Star Wars Junkies. George Lucas, okay, just get to the point. George Lucas robbed me in 1974. I had a piece of paper that says Jedi Knights in the Force on it with a car on the bottom. I wrote on there in 1974. I had a forensic analyst. He was going to take it and date it for me. And he said he could tell you when the paper was made, when it was made and where it was made, and when the ink was made and where it was made, and when the two were put together. So he could have pretty much squarely told you that piece of paper was from 1974, which is 3 years before Star Wars came out. And I had found this lab and everything, and I went down to Louisville. Actually, my mother was living outside Louisville, but I went down and went into the storage to get my piece of paper and my out of my sleeve, and my entire document sleeve was missing. And now inside each one of us brothers' document sleeves, each one of us had an immunization book, our medical records, and then our, my birth certificate was in mine. And, everything from my childhood was in my sleeve, and everything from my brother's childhood was in his sleeve, and so forth with my other brother. Both my brothers had their own, and mine's gone completely. 3 people knew about this, and that's what this video right here is about. 3 people knew about this document sleeve and about that piece of paper. Okay, only 3 people. My 2 brothers and my mother. Now, I wrote Jedi Knights of the Force on this piece of paper in 1974, put it in my document sleeve, and even when I pulled it out in 2000, it's funny because I was in Florida and I moved, and I had first put it on paper in Florida in West Palm Beach, but I moved, back up to Louisville for a while, and then I moved to Ohio and got married. I met my wife, and we were married 20 years, and she passed away August of 2020. And my dogs passed away just before that. So I had a, really rough year there. And the point is, if someone commented on my last video, Newsflash for Star Wars Junkie, that they worked for Lucasfilm. And they had stood there in around 2005 and heard George Lucas telling someone that he had got it, Jedi Knights of the Force, from a kid. Now, is this person legitimate? I don't know. I can't tell you 100% sure. But I know it's true that he really did. So whether this person is telling the truth about hearing him say it, it's another thing. But it wouldn't surprise me, because I can't imagine that for 40-something years he's been lying and nobody ever heard the truth, or nobody even else knows about it. I wouldn't doubt if some of his Hollywood buddies know what he did. Like Spielberg, so forth. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. Nonetheless, I lived around the corner from his cousin, Jack Hamburger. He heard me say Jedi Knights in the Force when we were playing Pirates in the Front Yard. He went and told his cousin, George Lucas. He was at my house every day trying to get me to go to his house and get on the phone with George Lucas. That day, he almost killed me in the backyard with a piece of rebar. I ran home. My mama thought I fell on the stick that I picked up in off the ground. And that's not what happened. I never fell on that stick that I picked up. Okay, so that's how she started telling that story in 99. And I said, that's not what happened. And then I still didn't remember. I went to Florida, came back. We were going through paperwork. She pulled out my document sleeve. I pull out that piece of paper and I'm looking at it. And I said, what is this? And she goes, Davey made that. Just to let you know, Davey's my nephew, and he wasn't alive in 1974 to make that. Put it back in there. Here, let me put it back up. So she put it back in there and put it up. Didn't even click, and it took me a while. And I moved to Ohio. I got married, and I was remembering more details, and I remembered everything. Came back to me almost all at once, and it was like having a ton of bricks drop on me. I remember everything from the taste of in my mouth when he pointed the rebar at my face. I ran into a piece of rebar that the end of it was buried in the ground, and the other end was bent over. So when it went in my mouth, I came off my feet. Blood sprayed down on my shoes and on the ground. So I don't know how long DNA lasts, if they could go test his backyard. But anyway, nonetheless, the reason I'm making this, and I didn't want to go back into the whole story, I just wanted to give you all a quick, idea of what's going on if you've never seen any of my videos. But the thing is, nobody could have known the location of my evidence and went and stole it unless they had been tapping my phones. And so for that reason, this is another reason why I want to make the video, is I've actually put in FOIA requests for 4 different agencies, including the FBI, the CIA, DOD, and we're gonna see what we can find out. If they were tapping me and they did go tell him, then somebody also committed another crime of disseminating classified information illegally, because if he found out where my piece of evidence was and he had somebody go steal it, or somebody else knew and went and stole it and then sold it to the highest bidder, because I've been thinking that maybe Disney got it and they blackmailed him into selling them Star Wars, so that's why he sold it to them. But somebody got that piece of paper. Somebody's got my document sleeve. Somebody's got my birth certificate. They've got my medical records. They've got my immunization book from when I was a kid. Now, my mom said she might have the immunization book, so I don't know how she would have had them unless she took them out. But if she does, then that would be a good thing, because the day, I can tell you that in the day that he got me on the phone with George Lucas was in April, or late April of 1974, and I'm pretty sure I have this date down because I think we left before school ended, and usually school ends around May, sometimes in May, and we had the big tornado that hit Louisville in April of 1974, and then we had a big Easter. We had these great big Easter baskets, and I think it was the 14th of April in 1974. I think I went and looked at this calendar, but nonetheless, I remember that it happened not long after this. So I'm pretty sure it was in somewhere in the end of April. And if that immunization book shows up and I can go in it and say, oh, look, here's a 1974 in April, I'll know the day that George Lucas called his house. Now, whether I can ever get phone records to prove, that he called that Jack Hamburger's kid's house, or Jack called him, or maybe both that day, who knows? Because he still had to come and get me to the house. So he could have called him before he went and got me, and then called again, or called him back when he got to the house. But I imagine there was more than one call between George Lucas and that house on Robinwood Road in Louisville, Kentucky that day. And I lived 400 and something feet, if you Google Earth it, 5513 Riata Boulevard, right around the corner from 5707 Robinwood Road, Louisville, Kentucky, 40218. I've got it all down right there. I've got the paperwork. I tried to subpoena, or not subpoena, but get copies of the Suburban Directory is what I was trying to say. Suburban Directory, which is like the phone book from 1974, 1973, 1974, but I went too far back the first time. Now, see, he moved in early 74, because if you look at the end of 73, there was another guy living there. Sorry, let me correct that again. There was a guy named James Tongate who lived there in 73, so he had just moved there in 74, so he wasn't there that long. And all the kids in the neighborhood didn't even like this kid when he come in, the new kid. I mean, I know it's hard to be a new kid and all, but he hit me with a bat before when we were playing in his yard. Then he almost killed me with a piece of rebar. So I don't know where this kid was raised or how he was raised, but he had a habit of hurting other kids. Let's put it that way. Nonetheless, the thing I wanted to show you a picture here of the message I got from the person after my last video, who told me, that they heard George Lucas say it. I'm going to post their message right here, and I will talk to y'all soon, and I'll see you in my next video. And then I may, when I get my FISA results and all my stuff, because I already got one back saying they didn't find nothing in the very rudimentary search. I don't know if you know anything about FBI FISA requests, but they do a very rudimentary search. But then you can request that they look further and they look heavier into other stuff and audio recordings, whatever. So if I find something about them tapping my phones, especially when I lived in Bedford, because that's when I was talking to my brothers. When I lived in Bedford, Ohio, and that's when he had to try he sent his ex-FBI buddy, Bob Frederick, to my house, tried to have me arrested. You can see all that in my other videos. Check it out, people. Don't hide the truth from nobody just because you don't believe it. Let everybody decide for themselves, and I'll see you on the next video.